The difference between the fifth dimension and the fifth force.
So, have you ever been reading a sci-fi novel or, watching some massive blockbuster, and the characters start throwing around terms like the fifth dimension and the fifth force? And they say them as if they're talking about the exact same thing? Well, it happens all the time. But today, we're going to untangle two of the cosmos' most commonly mixed up buzzwords. We are going way beyond our familiar reality to explore the actual fabric of the universe. We'll break down what these concepts really mean and why understanding the difference between them is absolutely crucial to unlocking some of the most exciting physics of 2026. Let's dive in. Okay, so here is the big question right up front. Are the fifth dimension and the fifth force literally the exact same thing? We've kind of got to acknowledge this common cosmic mix-up right out of the gate. Pop culture loves to use these terms interchangeably, mostly because, frankly, they both sound incredibly cool and mysterious. But as you'll see, treating them as synonyms is actually a massive misunderstanding of how our universe works. They are two fundamentally different concepts, and really grasping that difference, it's going to change how you view everything around you.
In physics, a dimension is simply a direction of measurement. It's a geometrical place, or like an extra spatial fold in the fabric of reality itself. A force, on the other hand, is an interaction. It's the physical push or pull between objects. Just remember that a dimension is a place where things exist, whereas a force is the action of how those things actually interact with one another.
Now, before we go exploring hidden geometries, we need to establish our baseline of reality. Physicists call this Minkowski Space. And don't let the name intimidate you, it's really just our familiar, everyday 4D reality. We live in a world made up of 3 dimensions of space. Up and down, left and right, forward and backward, plus 1 dimension of time. This 4-dimensional grid is the bedrock of our current understanding of reality. So whenever you hear physicists talking about a 5th dimension, what they're actually talking about is adding a completely new, hidden direction to this very familiar Minkowski space.
And this isn't just some sudden new trend. Back in the 1920s, scientists came up with the Kaluza-Klein Theory. This was the first really major attempt to use a 5th dimension to unify gravity and electromagnetism. They proposed something mind-bending, that if you had this tiny, curled-up 5th dimension, the physical motion of a particle inside that little loop would look to us, here in 3D space, simply as electric charge. Crazy, right? Well, fast forward a whole century to 2026, and we're looking at warped extra dimensions, or WED models. Current research is telling us this 5th dimension isn't just a neat math trick anymore. It might literally be a hidden portal where dark matter actually lives. And this perfectly explains one of the biggest, most glaring mysteries in physics: why gravity feels so insanely weak to us. See, gravity is unique. It's the only force that leaks across all dimensions, including those hidden extra ones. Because it's spreading out over all these different folds, its strength gets incredibly diluted by the time we feel it in our 3D world. To put that into perspective, just think about a normal refrigerator magnet. Because electromagnetism is locked purely into our 3D space, that tiny little piece of plastic holding up your grocery list is easily overpowering the gravitational pull of the entire Earth. Okay, so we've covered the places and the folds. Shifting gears a bit to the push and pull side of the equation, let's just quickly review the 4 fundamental forces that make up our standard model of physics. We've got gravity, keeping our feet on the ground, electromagnetism lighting up our screens, the strong nuclear force holding our atoms together, and the weak nuclear force, which is responsible for radioactive decay. These 4 rules dictate quite literally every interaction we have ever been able to measure in the entire universe.
Which, of course, brings us to the elusive 5th force. Now, this would be a totally brand new way for matter to interact that our current standard model absolutely doesn't account for. Finding a true 5th force wouldn't just be adding a tiny footnote to the textbooks. It would fundamentally mean discovering a completely new physical interaction that shatters our current trusted rulebook of the universe. It would force us to totally rewrite how we understand matter, pushing and pulling on other matter.
And right now, the absolute rock star of 5th force research is the X17 Boson. This is cutting-edge stuff, folks. With data updated as recently as March 2026, experiments at Atom KI and CERN have spotted some wildly strange anomalies in how particles decay. The data points to this tiny, protophobic particle, which is basically just a fancy way of saying it completely ignores protons, and it's called the X17. The big idea here is that this bizarre little particle might be the carrier for a force we have never, ever seen before in the entire history of physics.
But hold on, because the X17 isn't the only contender out there. Contrast that tiny subatomic anomaly with a massive solar system-level mystery. Based on April 2026 data from JPL scientist Slava Tereshev, we might be looking at what's called a Chameleon Force. This potential 5th force is what they call screened, meaning it actively hides itself in really dense environments, like Earth, totally masking its effects. In the vacuum of deep space, where there's no dense matter to block it, this chameleon force uncloaks and becomes incredibly powerful, literally a force that changes how it acts based on its environment.
So, how do these 2 massive, distinct concepts, the extra dimensions and the new forces, actually intersect? And why do we keep getting them so confused? Well, think of reality like a giant theater production. If a totally new actor representing our 5th force suddenly just walks onto the stage, it might be because they just stepped out from a hidden room representing the 5th dimension. The mix-up happens because the very existence of a 5th dimension often inherently creates what we, from the audience, perceive as a brand new 5th force. Let's tie all of this together with the ultimate synthesis we're seeing in 2026, modern dark dimension theories. In these incredible models, you have these highly exotic particles, stuff physicists refer to as the Radion or the Graviton Tower, and they literally live inside that extra spatial fold, that 5th dimension. But because we are stuck entirely in our 3D world, we can't see the fold itself. Instead, the influence of those hidden particles bleeding over into our reality is experienced by us simply as a mysterious new physical push or pull. Which brings us to the final, mind-bending question I want to leave you with today. When we observe these strange anomalies, when we look deep into the dark universe and see things behaving in ways our standard model just can't explain, are we discovering a brand new physical force? Or are we just feeling the shadow of a completely hidden dimension, casting its influence onto our 3D reality? The next time you gaze up at the night sky, I want you to wonder if the invisible pushes and pulls of the cosmos aren't just forces, but actually the profound contours of a hidden reality we're only just beginning to uncover.
If you found this video interesting, please don't forget to give it a like. Thanks for watching.